with diplomacy. And especially in the Netherlands, that's quite a challenge. Let's take a second tension between stakeholders, in this case between society and the employee. Society says we need more females at the top, for example. So we have to positively discriminate. Employees say, no, we have to look at achievements and really value them on output. So we get this tension between equal opportunities and positive discrimination. It's a dilemma. And again, we need to crack the line. And when we crack the line, we see on the one hand that minorities, to give them a chance, need to be pampered a bit. We need to have, as Deborah Tannen says, a lot of rapport. They need a safe environment. On the other hand, we need to be tough like a nail, because if we just pamper them, people will say, hey, you only discriminate them positively. But both will not work. Just being tough and just being close is not good enough. The best way, as a lot of research has shown, is to have strong rapport with credible reports. In other words, when we, like parents with children, have an unconditional love, that's close rapport, within which we can be tough like a nail. That's the best in the long run. That is sustainable minority management. And that's what the servant leader does. Let's take a third tension. And this is a tension that we have between, on the one hand, the need for efficiency, and the other hand, employees. And we call this tension specific versus diffuse. On the one hand, for example, do we need to go for financial performance? That is very specific. On the other hand, we need to diffusely develop our people. It's interesting because the dilemmas and the tensions between the stakeholders are very similar across the globe. The way we approach those dilemmas are quite different across cultures. Let us take the work of Kurt Lewin. Kurt Lewin was a German psychologist who went to America. And in some of his works in the early 50s, he described his culture shock in America as a German. He said, it's amazing, you hardly know Americans and they talk about all kinds of things with you. In Germany that would take 2 or 3 years. And he calls them the U-type, which we call the peach, or the G-type, the German type, the coconut. And we see here the characteristic of the peach and the coconut. In the center there is a tough nut with a lot of accessible flesh for the peach, the U-type, the American type. And the coconut is tough on the outside, but very soft on the inside. When I went to America, it was amazing. Without even asking, people offered their help to help me move in a new apartment in Philadelphia. And I looked around and I said, Bill, aren't you tired? Thank you for helping. And before I knew, I looked around, he was in my refrigerator. For an American, a refrigerator is public. For us Europeans, close to a rape. I mean, what the hell is he doing in my refrigerator? We didn't have a car. Typically Dutch, you borrow one. So, in America, you need my car, take my car, no problem. Have you tried this in Germany? Take my Mercedes? No way. Here's my wife, but leave my Mercedes. And finally, furniture. In America, people move, they leave their furniture. Have you tried this in France? It's called antique. You can't get rid of it. It's very private. Now, according to Kurt Lewin, this, what we call peach, this U-type, interacting with another U-type leads to a specific relationship. Cut the crap. What is our relationship about? Fons, are you married? Yes, what for? Tax deduction. That's a specific relationship. A final example to make the transition to the coconut is when I got my PhD in a club called Wharton. They suddenly called me Dr. Trompenaars in the university, but the same people called me Fons outside of the university. In other words, even a title is specific. In Germany at least, you're a hair doctor in the university, your hair doctor is still at work, you come home, good Abend, Frau Doctor. Where are the little doctors? And that's the coconut. And the coconut is tough on the outside, and that's why initially there is no relationship. But once you know each other, around October, you really go all the way. And the coconuts merge. And you are hair doctor, while your Frau is Frau Doctor. The big problem is when the coconut meets the peach. You understand, the coconut is diffuse, tough on the outside, very inaccessible initially. The peach is very accessible, but with a very tough nut in the center. This creates all kinds of misunderstandings. And it's also a conceptual model that explains the specific peach, we want to reduce costs, versus the diffuse coconut, we want to develop our people. How did we measure this? We asked people, would you paint the house of your boss? Answer A, dear boss, go to hell. Answer B, yeah, it's my boss and therefore I need to help. Look at people who said, I will not help to paint the house of my boss if he or she asks for it. You see that 91% of the Dutch and the Swedes say no way. Obviously because 9% in both countries are immigrants. And you go down the line and you end up in China where only 32% will not follow up the request of the boss. A very surprising score here is Japan. 71% said we will not paint the house of the boss. That's interesting, isn't it? We interviewed the Japanese because we were surprised. You know what they said? In Japan, we will never wait till the boss asks. And where does this leave us for you young purchasing professionals? I am sure you have recognized many of those dilemmas as purchasing people. You are dealing with compliance, on the other hand you want to serve the customer, etc., etc. And we fully understand this. I wish you lots of luck in applying this in also your leadership role, because as purchasing professionals, young or old, you are leaders of the future and we need this new paradigm. Good luck.